Every senior buyer over the age of 60 who walks into a dealership this weekend to look at a full-size SUV is walking into a different conversation than the buyer in their 30s or 40s, and most reviewers on this platform do not adjust their recommendations for that specific reality. Thoughtful. The senior buyer over 60 is meaningfully less likely to trade the vehicle in at year 4 or year 5, meaningfully more likely to keep the vehicle for the full 10 to 15-year ownership window until it becomes the last vehicle they buy in retirement. Concerned, meaningfully more concerned about the physical entry and exit ergonomics after a decade of daily use. Meaningfully more dependent on the dealer network still existing to service the vehicle in 2040. And meaningfully less patient with the specific glass touchscreen infotainment trend that most 2026 SUVs have embraced, despite the actual documented usability research showing older drivers strongly prefer physical buttons and knobs for climate, audio, and drive mode controls. The full-size SUV segment specifically is where those senior priority differences compound the most, because the buyer who is selecting a full-size SUV in 2026 is almost certainly planning to use it for grandchildren, for family road trips, for towing if applicable, and for the specific comfortable ride profile that makes long-distance driving genuinely tolerable across a decade of aging. That specific use case does not overlap cleanly with the mainstream reviewer conversation about full-size SUVs, which tends to emphasize acceleration numbers, track driving impressions, and infotainment feature counts that most senior buyers will never care about. In this video, I am going to walk you through the specific 3 full-size SUVs currently on sale in America in 2026 that clear the specific senior filter I apply. Not the 3 fastest full-size SUVs, not the 3 cheapest, not the 3 most feature-loaded. The 3 full-size SUVs where the specific combination of physical control layout, dealer network depth for long-term service, transferable warranty coverage, documented long-mileage reliability data, and comfortable ride tuning produces the specific senior-appropriate answer. I am going to name the specific value-oriented mainstream pick with the industry's most aggressive warranty for the original owner and no CVT complexity underneath. I am going to name the specific full-size hybrid pick, where documented iSeeCars data anchors the highest probability of reaching 250,000 miles of any full-size SUV in America. And I am going to name the specific luxury body-on-frame pick where the Toyota Land Cruiser Heritage architecture compounds with the lowest documented problem rate of any vehicle brand in America for 4 consecutive years. Stay with me all the way to the end, because at the end of this video, I am going to give you the specific alternatives if any of the 3 picks does not fit your specific budget or use case. Name the specific full-size SUVs currently on lots in 2026 that I would gently steer any senior family member away from, and include the specific honest caveats about engine architecture that most reviewers avoid explaining on this specific segment. The brochures at every full-size SUV dealership talk about capability. The mechanic with 22 years of shop invoices in his memory tells you which vehicles seniors actually keep for 15 years without regret. Let me show you the 3. Before I name a single vehicle, you deserve to understand exactly which 7 senior-specific filters I apply when I am evaluating whether a full-size SUV genuinely fits the senior buyer profile, because these filters are meaningfully stricter than what most reviewers apply publicly, and they are meaningfully different from the filters that a 30-year-old buyer would apply. Thoughtful filter. Number 1 is physical control layout for climate, audio, and drive mode functions. Physical buttons and physical knobs, not glass touchscreens embedded into center stack panels. The documented usability research consistently shows older drivers experience meaningfully longer glance-away times when required to interact with touchscreen infotainment for basic climate or audio adjustments compared to physical controls. Concerned. That longer glance-away time is a real safety concern that compounds over a decade of aging. Any full-size SUV that has moved climate and audio to touchscreen only is disqualified from my senior list regardless of every other metric. Filter number 2 is easy entry and exit ergonomics. The specific step-in height matters for senior buyers whose knees, hips, and lower back have accumulated wear across a lifetime of use. Full-size body-on-frame SUVs typically require running boards to make entry practical for senior buyers, and running boards need to be power-deployed or fixed at a step height that works with the specific driver's body. Filter number 3 is excellent outward visibility, large greenhouse, low beltline, slim A-pillars, wide side windows, adequate rear window visibility. Senior buyers whose peripheral vision has meaningfully decreased since their 30s and 40s depend on outward visibility engineering more than younger buyers realize, and the specific SUVs that have optimized for aggressive styling with high belt lines and thick pillars are meaningfully harder for senior drivers to place confidently on the road. Filter number 4 is documented reliability with meaningful field data. This one matters more for senior buyers because the retirement budget cannot easily absorb a surprise $5,000 repair invoice at year 8 or year 9 of ownership. iSeeCars, long mileage survival data, CarEdge major repair probability data, JD Power vehicle dependability study data all matter here. Any full-size SUV without meaningful documented long-term reliability field data fails this filter regardless of specification counts. Filter number 5 is dealer network depth for long-term service availability. When the senior buyer is planning to keep the vehicle for 15 years, they need to know the dealer network will still be servicing the vehicle in 2040 and beyond. Deep mainstream dealer networks like Toyota or Honda essentially guarantee this. Shrinking dealer networks fail this filter decisively. Filter number 6 is straightforward technology that does not require constant relearning. Senior buyers tend to keep their technology preferences consistent once learned. Full-size SUVs that require software updates to change core infotainment behavior or that shift standard features to subscription services disrupt the senior driver's learned mental model and fail this filter. Filter number 7 is comfortable ride tuning with real usable third-row capacity for grandchildren. This is where full-size SUV engineering specifically matters, because the ride quality on longer trips with multiple grandchildren aboard is meaningfully different from the ride quality on a solo drive. Now hold those 7 filters in your head, because we are about to walk through 3 specific full-size SUVs that clear all 7 decisively. Pick number 3 on the list of full-size SUVs seniors should actually consider buying in 2026 is the Kia Telluride X2, and this vehicle earns its place on the senior list for a specific combination of value, engineering choices, and warranty terms that most reviewers on this platform do not properly explain to their senior audiences. Curious? Let me walk you through the specific case. The Kia Telluride X2 uses a 3.8-liter, naturally aspirated Lambda V6 engine paired to an 8-speed conventional automatic transmission. Read that specification twice, because both parts matter meaningfully for the senior filter. Thoughtful. Naturally aspirated V6, which sidesteps every failure mode associated with small turbocharged engines. No turbocharger to fail. No small displacement direct injection engine working at high boost pressure across a decade of ownership. Conventional 8-speed automatic transmission with proven multi-year production history, which means no CVT concerns and no dual clutch complexity. Both engineering choices favor long-term durability for the specific buyer who plans to keep the vehicle for the full ownership window. Filter number 1 on physical controls clears decisively. The Kia Telluride X2 retains dedicated physical buttons and knobs for climate, audio, and drive mode functions on the current generation. The infotainment screen handles the tasks that genuinely benefit from a screen, but the daily use controls remain physical. Filter number 2 on entry and exit ergonomics clears decisively. The Kia Telluride X two-step in height is moderate. Side steps are available as options, and doors open wide enough for comfortable ingress for senior drivers. Filter number 3 on outward visibility clears strongly. The greenhouse is generous. The A-pillars are appropriately slim. Rear visibility is genuinely usable. Filter number 7 on comfortable ride tuning with real usable third row clears at a specific level of performance that competitors at the same price point cannot match. The suspension tuning delivers a genuinely comfortable ride for senior back health, and the third row is genuinely usable for grandchildren on medium-distance trips. Now let me tell you the specific reason this pick lands at position 3 rather than higher. Filter number 4 on documented reliability with meaningful field data lands at the mainstream tier rather than at the top of the class. The Kia brand has meaningfully improved on the JD Power initial quality rankings across the last decade and has been climbing the Consumer Reports rankings, but the documented long mileage field survival data for the Kia brand does not yet match what the Toyota brand at pick number 2 or the Lexus brand at pick number 1 has accumulated. And filter number 5 on dealer network depth clears at the mainstream tier but is meaningfully less deep than the Toyota or Honda networks. That gap matters more for the senior buyer who plans to keep the vehicle beyond year 10. But here is the specific advantage that keeps this pick on the list decisively. The Kia brand offers a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty on new vehicles for the original owner. That is meaningfully more aggressive than any mainstream competitor. It is meaningfully more aggressive than what Toyota, Honda, Mazda, Subaru, or the American mainstream brands offer on standard warranty terms. The critical caveat for the senior buyer specifically is that the 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty is not transferable to the second owner, meaning if the senior buyer plans to gift or sell the vehicle to a family member later in the ownership window, the warranty coverage does not transfer. For the specific senior buyer who plans to be the original owner across the full warranty window, the Kia coverage is genuinely the most aggressive available in the mainstream full-size segment. Pricing on the Kia Telluride X2 runs approximately $36,000 base at the LX trim, with higher trims transacting in the low 50s on the SX Prestige configuration. The Kia Sorento is the smaller 3-row alternative in the Kia lineup for the senior buyer whose parking or garage constraints favor a more compact footprint. If the specific senior buyer prioritizes the Kia aggressive warranty and the value pricing above every other consideration, and if they specifically plan to be the original owner across the 10-year window, the Kia Telluride X2 is the answer. Pick number 3 confirmed. Pick number 2 is the Toyota Sequoia 2026, and this vehicle earns position 2 on the senior list because it combines specific senior-friendly engineering, the deepest Toyota dealer network in America for long-term service, and the highest documented long-mileage survival probability in the full-size SUV segment according to the iSeeCars data. Enthusiastic. Let me walk you through the specific case because this pick is the answer for the senior buyer who wants full-size body-on-frame hybrid capability without stepping into the luxury tier. The Toyota Sequoia 2026 uses the iForce Max hybrid drivetrain, which combines a 3.4-liter twin-turbocharged V6 engine with an electric motor mounted between the engine and the 10-speed conventional automatic transmission. Proud combined output reaches 437 horsepower and 583 pound-feet of torque, meaningfully more capable output than any competitor in the segment. EPA combined fuel economy lands at approximately 22 miles per gallon combined, which is best in class for a full-size body-on-frame hybrid SUV. Base pricing on the TRD off-road trim runs approximately $62,000, with higher trims like the Capstone Luxury pushing into the mid-70s. And here is the specific data point that anchors this pick at position 2. iSeeCars aggregates long-mileage survival data across nearly 400 million vehicles in the American market, and the Toyota Sequoia 2026 family holds the highest documented probability of reaching 250,000 miles of any full-size SUV in America at approximately 39.1%. Read that number again. 39.1% probability of reaching 250,000 miles, roughly 8 times the industry average of 4.8%. For the senior buyer who plans to keep the vehicle for 15 years, that specific data point resolves the long-term reliability question decisively. Let me walk you through the senior filters. Filter number 1 on physical controls clears at the Toyota tier, which specifically preserves physical buttons and knobs for climate, audio, and drive mode functions on the Toyota Sequoia 2026, where most competitors have moved to touchscreen only. Filter number 2 on entry and exit ergonomics is where the Toyota Sequoia 2026 requires honest disclosure. Full-size body-on-frame SUVs, like the Toyota Sequoia 2026, have meaningfully higher step-in heights than unibody SUVs, like the Kia Telluride X2 at pick number 3. Running boards are strongly recommended for senior buyers, and the higher trims include them as standard equipment. Filter number 3 on outward visibility clears at a level competitive with segment competitors. Filter number 4 on documented reliability with meaningful field data clears at the strongest possible level for the mainstream segment, anchored by the specific iSeeCars 39.1% to 250K figure. Filter number 5 on dealer network depth clears at the deepest possible level. The Toyota dealer network is the deepest mainstream network in America, meaningfully deeper than any competitor, which means service availability in 2040 is essentially guaranteed. Filter number 6 on straightforward technology clears at the Toyota tier, which specifically preserves familiar Toyota infotainment behavior across generations, rather than reinventing the interface. Filter number 7 on comfortable ride tuning with real usable third row clears at the full-size tier, which is the entire point of choosing a full-size SUV rather than a mid-size alternative. Now the specific honest disclosure that this pick specifically requires. The iForce Max engine architecture on the Toyota Sequoia 2026 uses the 3.4-liter twin-turbocharged V6, sometimes referred to as the V35A. That specific engine architecture is meaningfully different from the standard Toyota hybrid synergy drive that anchors the Toyota Highlander 2026 midsize hybrid or the smaller Toyota HSD vehicles. Toyota has documented early production concerns on some 2022 through 2024 V35A applications requiring engine attention, and while subsequent production has meaningfully improved, the underlying engineering is meaningfully newer than the 28-year continuous Toyota HSD track record. That is the honest caveat this pick requires. It does not disqualify the pick because the iSeeCars data anchors the specific reliability advantage decisively, even with the honest V35A caveat included, but the specific senior buyer deserves to hear the honest engineering distinction rather than pretend around it.
The Toyota Highlander 2026 with the standard HSD is the specific midsize alternative for the senior buyer whose budget or use case favors a smaller footprint. With the standard HSD engineering and the transferable 10-year, 150,000-mile hybrid battery warranty on 2020 and newer Toyota hybrids, applies to the Toyota Sequoia 2026 directly, transferring to the second owner without restrictions. Pick number 2 confirmed. The next pick delivers the same fundamental engineering advantage, wrapped in the luxury quality control regime that produces the lowest documented problem rate of any vehicle brand in America for 4 consecutive years.
And pick number 1 on the list of full-size SUV seniors should actually consider buying in 2026 is the Lexus GX. Enthusiastic. Let me walk you through the specific case, because for the senior buyer whose budget will absorb the luxury premium, this specific pick delivers exactly what the senior filter is looking for, compounded across every one of the 7 filters simultaneously. The Lexus GX uses body-on-frame architecture directly derived from the Toyota Land Cruiser Prado platform. That specific platform lineage has been documented across decades of Prado production in international markets, with legendary long-term durability that has consistently anchored the platform as one of the most respected body-on-frame SUV designs in the world. Informative. In the American market, that specific engineering heritage is not always properly explained to buyers because the Toyota Land Cruiser Prado has been sold under different naming conventions across different years. But the underlying architecture is what matters, and the Lexus GX sits directly on that heritage. Combined with the specific Lexus brand quality control regime that produces a compound advantage on the senior filter that no competing luxury body-on-frame SUV can match. The current generation Lexus GX uses a 3.4-liter twin-turbocharged V6 engine, the same V35A architecture shared with the Toyota Sequoia 2026 at pick number 2, making 349 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque, paired to a 10-speed conventional automatic transmission. And the specific engineering choice that anchors this pick for senior buyers specifically is the KDSS suspension system, Kinetic Dynamic Suspension System, which is a mechanical suspension architecture that decouples the anti-roll bars during off-road driving for wheel articulation, while providing exceptional on-road ride comfort. For the senior buyer whose back health is a genuine daily concern, the ride comfort delivered by the KDSS-equipped Lexus GX is meaningfully better than what any competing full-size SUV delivers. Now let me walk you through the senior filters because this pick clears all 7 at the strongest tier. Filter number 1 on physical controls clears at the strongest possible level. Lexus has preserved extensive dedicated physical button and knob layouts for climate, audio, drive modes, and comfort settings on the Lexus GX, where most competing luxury vehicles have moved to touchscreen glass panels. Filter number 2 on entry and exit ergonomics requires the same running board consideration as the Toyota Sequoia 2026 at pick number 2. The step-in height on body-on-frame architecture is meaningfully higher than unibody alternatives. Running boards are strongly recommended for senior buyers and are typically included on higher trims. Filter number 3 on outward visibility clears at a level meaningfully better than the Toyota Sequoia 2026 because the Lexus GX greenhouse is more upright, the A-pillars are slimmer, and the beltline is lower. For senior drivers whose peripheral vision has decreased over time, that visibility advantage is genuinely meaningful. Filter number 4 on documented reliability with meaningful field data, and this is where the compound advantage produces the specific insight. On the J.D. Power 2026 U.S. Vehicle Dependability Study released in February 2026, the Lexus brand came in first overall at 151 problems per 100 vehicles. The fourth consecutive year, the brand has won the title. That is the lowest documented problem rate of any vehicle brand in the modern era of the study. CarEdge major repair probability at 18.75% for the Lexus brand, second lowest in the entire American automotive market, behind only the Toyota brand itself at 14.97%. Consumer Reports Customer Service Index at the top of the luxury segment for multiple consecutive years. Filter number 5 on dealer network depth clears at the strongest possible luxury tier, with the Lexus and Toyota dealer networks jointly delivering the deepest luxury service availability in America. Filter number 6 on straightforward technology clears at the Lexus tier, which specifically preserves familiar interface behavior. And filter number 7 on comfortable ride tuning delivers what the KDSS suspension engineering specifically provides. Base pricing on the Lexus GX Premium trim runs approximately $65,000, with higher trims transacting in the $75,000 to $85,000 range.
That is meaningfully more than the Kia Telluride X2 at pick number 3 and meaningfully more than the Toyota Sequoia 2026 at pick number 2. But for the senior buyer whose budget will absorb the luxury premium, the compound advantage is genuinely worth the pricing gap. Now, the honest disclosure. The V35A engine architecture on the Lexus GX is shared with the Toyota Sequoia 2026, which means the same honest caveat about early production concerns on 2022 through 2024 V35A applications applies to this pick as well. The engineering is meaningfully newer than the 28-year continuous Toyota HSD track record. That honest caveat does not disqualify the pick because the compound Lexus advantages on brand-level reliability data outweigh the specific engine architecture caveat. But the senior buyer deserves to hear the honest engineering distinction. The Lexus LX is the higher luxury, full-size body-on-frame alternative for the senior buyer whose budget will absorb the additional pricing premium. Base pricing approaches $100,000. Both vehicles clear the 7 senior filters at the strongest luxury tier. Pick number 1 confirmed. The Lexus GX is the specific answer for the senior buyer whose budget will absorb the luxury premium and who wants the compound advantages the Lexus brand delivers on top of the shared Toyota-derived engineering.
So if you have been watching for the last 18 minutes, ready to be told which of the 3 picks is right for your specific senior life situation, here is the verdict by senior buyer profile. With attention to the specific full-size SUVs currently on lots in 2026 that would fail the senior filter decisively and the specific alternatives if your budget or use case shifts the answer. Curious, if your specific senior priority is the industry's most aggressive mainstream warranty for the original owner and value pricing above every other consideration, and if you specifically plan to be the original owner across the 10-year Kia warranty window, the Kia Telluride X2 is the answer. Thoughtful. If your budget favors a smaller 3-row footprint on the same fundamental Kia philosophy, the Kia Sorento delivers a more compact senior alternative in the same brand family. If your specific senior priority is full-size hybrid capability with the deepest mainstream dealer network in America and the highest documented iSeeCars long-mileage survival probability in the segment, the Toyota Sequoia 2026 is the answer, with the honest V35A engine architecture caveat included transparently. If your budget or garage constraints favor a smaller footprint with the standard Toyota hybrid synergy drive engineering rather than the V35A architecture, the Toyota Highlander 2026 is the midsize alternative that delivers proven 28-year continuous production HSD engineering in a 3-row configuration for approximately $42,000 base. And if your budget will absorb the luxury premium and you want the Lexus quality control regime compounded with Toyota Land Cruiser heritage body-on-frame architecture and KDSS suspension delivering exceptional senior ride comfort, the Lexus GX is the answer. If your budget will absorb even further into the luxury tier, the Lexus LX delivers full-size body-on-frame luxury at approximately $100,000 base, wrapped in the same Lexus brand quality control regime. For the senior buyer whose use case does not require full-size and who is willing to consider mid-size 3-row luxury as an alternative, the Acura MDX delivers 3-row Japanese luxury on the Honda J-Series 5/6 Heritage at approximately $52,000 base, with the honest disclosure that Acura does not currently offer a hybrid variant in the 2026 SUV lineup. The Honda Pilot delivers 3-row family capability on the naturally aspirated Honda J35 V6 with the cheapest mainstream annual maintenance in America, and the Honda Passport is the 5-passenger sibling on the same engine. For the senior buyer specifically who wants an alternative body style rather than a full-size SUV, the Subaru Outback delivers a larger station wagon configuration on the Subaru mechanical symmetrical all-wheel drive platform. Now let me name the specific full-size SUVs currently on lots in 2026 that would fail the senior filter decisively, and that I would gently steer any senior family member away from at any dealer discount. The BMW X5 2024 brand average annual maintenance runs approximately $1,166 per year on the RepairPal database, roughly 2.7 times what the Toyota and Honda brands deliver. That specific annual cost gap compounds meaningfully across a decade of retirement ownership and is difficult to justify on a fixed retirement income. The plug-in variant carries the Consumer Reports plug-in complexity concern that produces approximately 80% more reportable problems than self-charging hybrids in the first 5 years. The Nissan Rogue is not full-size, but the Nissan Rogue variable compression turbo engine architecture failure pattern, documented across more than 1 million recalled units in 12 months across 3 separate mechanical systems, raises the honest question of whether the incoming e-Power variant will actually address the underlying engineering concerns. The Infiniti QX50 uses the same VC turbo family with luxury parts pricing on top. The Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in variant carries the plug-in complexity concern paired to a dealer network that has been shrinking meaningfully across recent years, which specifically fails the senior filter of whether the dealer network will still be servicing the vehicle in 2040. The Mazda CX-90 Largo plug-in uses an 8-speed wet clutch transmission that owners describe consistently as a blender with a marble in it, with documented low-speed shutter complaints, and the specific honest brand-level disclosure.
The Mazda brand dropped 8 places in the Consumer Reports 2026 overall brand report card compared to the previous year, which means the honest reviewer citing Consumer Reports as a source has to acknowledge the brand-level shift rather than pretend around it. The specific gasoline Honda CR-V 2024 trim is not full-size, but the same 1.5T engine architecture concern applies to buyers cross-shopping smaller Honda alternatives. Walking past every one of those vehicles buys you the freedom to purchase one of the 3 specific senior-appropriate picks on this video instead.
Before you go, I need something specific from you in the comments below, because the next video on this channel is going to be built directly on the data you leave here. Curious, if you are a senior owner of one of the 3 full-size picks from this video, I especially want to hear from you. Drop your model year, your trim, your current mileage, your state, and the specific senior relevant experience that either confirmed or challenged the pick I walked through on this video. If you own a Kia Telluride X2 and you have crossed the 7-year mark or higher, tell me your annual maintenance costs and whether the 10-year Kia warranty has been useful across your ownership window. Thoughtful. If you own a Toyota Sequoia 2026 with the iForce Max hybrid drivetrain, tell me your real-world combined fuel economy, your dealer service experience, and any specific V3 5A engine event that either confirms or challenges the honest caveat I walked through. If you own a Lexus GX or the higher luxury Lexus LX, I especially want to hear your Lexus dealer service experience, because the J.D. Power Customer Service Index anchor at pick number 1 is based on aggregate data, and your specific dealer experience helps confirm or challenge the pattern. If you cross-shopped any of the 3 picks against a competitor and went with the competitor specifically, tell me what tipped the decision. The patterns we find in these comments are how I refine future senior-focused videos and how I catch reliability shifts in specific model years before they show up on the aggregated databases. Do not just leave a thumbs up. Leave your specific senior ownership math. And I want to leave you with 2 things that are coming. The first one is that I have been investigating something specific about the timing on the incoming Toyota maintenance program that could reduce the annual ownership cost figure on the Toyota Sequoia 2026 meaningfully further, extending the mainstream senior full-size hybrid advantage even further. If the terms hold up, the specific value proposition of the Toyota Sequoia 2026 at pick number 2 becomes even stronger against luxury alternatives. The second thing is that Honda confirmed in the May 2026 business briefing that 15 next-generation hybrid models are coming by 2030 with a 30% reduction in production cost and a 10% improvement in efficiency across the lineup, and the Honda Pilot and Honda Passport arriving in 2027 and 2028 could receive hybrid drivetrains that meaningfully expand the mainstream three-row hybrid options for senior buyers. If those roadmaps deliver, this senior list could genuinely expand in future years. And the incoming Acura MDX hybrid variant widely expected in the 2027 or 2028 model year, based on the same Honda roadmap, could genuinely earn a place on future senior-focused lists. Either way, I will be here breaking it down the moment the news lands. Subscribe so you do not have to come looking. I will see you in the next one.